Day money is back, still ain't finna cap. We back in the stool, we keep it a stack. The best in the game, you know it's a fact. I'm feeling this beat, so I spit on the track. Day money is back, still ain't finna cap. We back in the stool, we keep it a stack. The best in the game, you know it's a fact. I'm feeling this beat, so I spit on the track. They cooking the beats, we feeding the streets. The road got a button, they wish they was me. Been killing the game, making my own lane. We back for part 2, the season the same. This is the theme, we making it slap. Come on the show and you better not cap.
I see y'all feeling the theme song.
Yeah, nah, it's for
I
real.
see y'all feeling the theme song.
Honestly, in all seriousness, I would
got the stink face. Man.
In all seriousness, I'd make a fucking track with you, Dan.
Oh man, you know what? I would actually love to make music, but I mean, I am in a rap group. Shout out QC for real. But I just don't have time to rap. Like I do too many different things. You know, it's like it's crazy. But yo, we back. No cap. That's a fact. Season 2 of the No Cap podcast. It's the first time I've been back in here in months. You know, was at school doing my thing. You know, but it feels so good to be back in my studio creating content. You know, trying to link up with my boy for a very long time.
Yes, sir.
Finally dropped the album.
Yes, sir.
Shaolin Reco back in the building. I just gotta say, bro, I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you. You know, just that. Like the last time you were on here, we're talking about it. You were sitting at lunch. You freestyled at the table and freestyled in gym class, and now you know you're here. You dropped your first album. Let's get into it, bro. So first of all, it's called The Red Room. Where did you come up with the name? What was the inspiration for it?
Okay, perfect question. Basically, the album itself revolves not specifically around certain topics, but the narrative of it chronicles my adolescent period of my life. So all of the tracks weren't necessarily written with the intent of putting them on an album, but some of them were written after significant events in my adolescence. So they were some of like the rawest, most truest tracks that I created. You know, when those things happen to come up, the idea behind the name, The Red Room, I put that name because the mood of the album as a whole, you know, if you've listened to it, is quite aggressive, and red is an aggressive ass color. So that's it. The name itself, honestly, is really simplistic. Doesn't have insane meaning, but it's just supposed to be my boxed up thoughts, the aggressive thoughts boxed up in an album.
Yeah, I mean, like I've gotten the chance to listen to it a couple times. I really do like the album. I really do. You have there's a couple songs in there. I feel like I wouldn't say a couple. It's like every song I feel like has a story to tell, right? And that's something I definitely know that you go for, telling stories. I guess what I want to know is, how are you as an artist telling your story in this album? Like what do you feel is the most important things that people should take away from it? Because you're telling a personal story. So what should your listeners be taking away from this?
Okay. The way that I told the stories in the album is not in a directly linear, let's say like, oh, I did this, I did that type of structure. I feel like the best way to describe it is that I more or less describe the emotions, or I feel like a lot of the storytelling honestly comes through with the deliveries of the songs, the aggressive nature. And then in that, I'm talking about the actions of the things that I've done or the thoughts at the certain times of when I had wrote those songs. So if we take, for example, the song Bad Karma, which is one of the favorites on the album. It was one of the lead singles off the album. Bad Karma, extremely aggressive track, very hype, kind of has like a banger quality to it. And the lyrics, they basically have content that's relating to when I was detained by the police.
Okay.
That's why there's certain lines where it's like, I saw my mama at the station, these ops is fuckheads. If I could kick the bucket just to see my cousin, then I would go say fuck it. That was also referencing my cousin who had passed away, I would say a few months prior. And so basically, I'm not directly telling a story in the way that I'm like a storyteller, but I'm revealing these parts that I went through during the times that I had written these songs.
Okay. it's crazy how you come with a song, right? You come with a concept for a song, but people never really understand the backstory to it, and that's a pretty serious backstory. Now,
Definitely.
You're talking about being detained by the police. You don't have to go in detail, but we're in a particular social climate where minorities, we're pretty much being targeted by law enforcement and things. How much of that emotion that you got from that experience, how much did that play not only to that song, but how much of that emotion played into the album?
That's a phenomenal question. Basically, and this kind of adds into the entire album as a whole. While there were songs that were written before the entire concept was created, there were songs that were written during quarantine.
Okay.
Right? So, take for example the song Other Side of America. That song was written during this entire fucking shitstorm of civil rights and crazy things happening in our country. You know what I mean? We had the George Floyd killing, and it was just, people pent up in quarantine for months, and then that happens, and things are just exploding. I mean, I'm sure you remember at that time. I'm sure everyone in this room remembers at that time. America was like a rubber band that had so much tension, and when that happened, it like snapped.
Right.
We had all the protesting, riots. We saw so many more things on social media of police doing horrid things, and also of some civilians and citizens doing things that are not excusable either. So we saw a lot of bad things, bad energy on every side coming from every single angle. So like you kind of stated, the energy that's put into songs like Other Side of America and Bad Karma,
Right.
The concept that was already from that song Bad Karma was only further aggravated by the political and social climate of what was happening. And that's why songs like that, I definitely felt like there were songs that weren't as like politically or socially conscious on the album that are more specifically geared towards me. But those songs, I felt like, especially Other Side of America, because that's definitely taking a much more critical and cynical look at some of the things that were going on at the time. The climate of the United States in 2020, that year, played a huge role in the album. And I honestly, personally thinking, if the year 2020 like didn't unfold the way that it did, that album may not be specifically the same. It might have been slightly different. Who's to know?
Yeah. I mean, you bring up some crazy points. I mean, we went through a lot of stuff over the past year with George Floyd to riots and protests and everything. And I definitely felt there was a certain type of energy, surrounding America. But at the same time, when I heard the album, there's a lot of that energy put into it. And you could tell, like, one of the songs that I, admired most was Other Side of America. I did not have to know any backstory, to understand what you were talking about. You put it in the title of the song, but you could hear it. The emotion, the feeling. There was an energy about that song that was saying like, "Yo, this is how I'm feeling." But the great thing about it, which I thought was cool, was that you kind of embodied what a lot of people were feeling into a song, which is something really difficult. A lot of people can't do that shit.
Definitely.
A lot of people can't do that shit. Just something I definitely commend you on. But you have the 9 tracks in the album, right? What went into the creative process of you creating an album? In terms of the amount of songs you wanted to do, were there more songs that we're gonna get after that you did not necessarily have an album? Because people definitely want to know about that kind of stuff.
Awesome, yeah. That's actually probably a good time for me to announce. We're gonna try to drop a deluxe version.
Words.
Because the way that the album was built was just like the year 2020.
Yeah.
It was honestly not specifically. I didn't build an album like Kendrick Lamar, where everything was so poignantly placed and everything.
Yeah.
Basically, the process. My boy Shaolin MIA, who unfortunately is not here with us to discuss it. He was cranking out beats like no tomorrow. Okay, no tomorrow. He would send me like 3 beats one day. 2 days later, 3 days later, he'd be like, "Yo, here's another 2 beats. Here's another 3 beats."
Yeah.
And I'd already have a song written on 1 or 2 of those things. So we probably amounted. So 9 made it onto the album. I would say in total, I probably wrote for this specific album that I felt like would make sense to be in it.
Yeah.
Probably around 15, 14 tracks. Some of those I chose not to pick because for whatever reason, maybe I thought the lyrical content was just not up to par. Maybe it didn't match. Maybe the beat didn't fully meld with the entire album. So I basically felt like those were songs that didn't necessarily fully make the cut. But there's definitely going to be a few more tracks, at least maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 more tracks that you're going to see hopefully in the next coming weeks, actually.
Now, me, someone who, I enjoy music, I love music, but I've never dropped an album before. I don't make music and stuff like that. But you as an artist, I definitely want to know what goes into the idea of you not necessarily dropping every single song that was supposed to be on the album. Because, you have a deluxe album, right? And you got extra songs that you're supposed to have on it. But how come you haven't put all the songs in the first album? Because that's something I never understood with music.
Yeah. What really boils down to me, the reason why is cohesion.
Okay.
Basically, my favorite thing about this album and why I pride it to be my greatest work is not necessarily because of its specific lyrical content, not because of some specific topic matter, although I do commend myself for being able to focus it in a good way that people can understand. That's all great. What I find to be most impressive about the album, from when I sit back and I'm like, wow, I created something that is worth listening to, to a serious extent, is the cohesion, is the fact that the beats, they all have a certain energy that don't necessarily, they don't sound all alike, but they all sound like they're from the same project. The flows and the lyrics, they're not all alike, but they sound like they come from the same project. It's not like I'm putting, the first song is the Red Room intro, and it's a super high aggression piano melody, and then the next song is like a boom bap track, and then the next song is like another more trappy type track. What I really like about this album is how I was able to kind of cut off the fat and create it into something that's very cohesive.
And that's that. Okay, so now I got a better understanding of the whole deluxe and the original album kind of thing. But you're talking about Shaolin MIA give you a bunch of different beats. Sadly, he can't be here to talk about it. But for the beats that were on your album, what was kind of the aesthetic that you wanted for each of those beats? Because everyone knows that when you hear an album, there's clearly a common trend. Even though not every beat's the same, there's a trend in the feeling that you're supposed to get from that beat.
Definitely.
So were you hitting him up and be like, yo, man, I need this type of beat? Or were you just spitting them out and then eventually you kind of just put them together and be like, all right, this is what it's going to be and we're going to go from there?
Yeah, it was kind of a mix of that. So it would start off with him. Sometimes he'd create a track or a beat. For example, when he made Bad Karma, that was one of the first songs I think was written on the album. And I was like, yo, that shit, that type beat, imagine that as a Shaolin MIA type beat. Give me 2 or 3 more that are similar. Obviously, not the same, but something that carries the same kind of energy. Yeah. So the intention for it was, I've had some more music in the past that, it's not on all platforms, but some of my older stuff from SoundCloud, not necessarily been the most lax music. Yeah. Definitely, I wouldn't say it's a chill type of music, but it doesn't carry the same vibrance and straight.
It's 6 o'clock.
Rawness. I'm talking about with the takes. Also I want to shout out my boy Josh Norby. He's actually the guy who executively engineered the entire album.
Okay.
So he's going to school for audio engineering, and that's why the album came out as crisp and clean and meticulously mixed as it is. And he also played a hand in also giving me some advice along the way on, hey, this part right here, why don't you try to do this? Why don't you try this delivery? So I actually give his guidance. I give him a lot of credit because he also helped string this album together in an integral way. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that the aggression and flamboyance, I guess is the word, because I noted one qualm that I had with some of my previous music was that although the lyrical content was good on some of the tracks, there were parts where I felt personally where, let's say there's a certain verse that maybe a little bit monotone, doesn't have the same amount of aggression, which in some cases is perfectly fine.
Right.
If let's say you're going for something that needs that, for this album, that's definitely not what it needed. It needed something that would require everything from me. So that's what I did. And I think also what was really important was that I started to incorporate a little bit more melody into my work.
Okay.
Much earlier in my music, my hooks were a little bit more simplistic and more or less kind of more of a chanting or like basic kind of refrain. Whereas with this album, I tried to definitely aim for catchier hooks, things that are catchy but also pack meaning into the hook, and that was definitely something that was heavily focused on, was creating new hooks and stuff like that to add a little bit more memorability to the tracks themselves.
Word, nah, I mean that I respect. You know, there's a lot of things creative wise, you know, that go into creating the masterpiece, which is an album, and this is your first one, and obviously from here on, you know, you keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, you're not even 20 years old yet. You know, you dropped your first album, so now you know you drop this and you grow and you keep growing. This is like your baby, right? The first thing you dropped. We understand that you have things that you want people to take away from the album in general, but when people hear this, when people hear each individual song, what do you want them to know about you as a person, as an artist? What are they taking away personally from you when they hear this album?
Well, I feel like the main message that I would like to basically kind of tell about myself would be that I have versatility as an artist,
right.
And one thing I want to say is that regarding this album, like this style, probably you won't hear anything similar to this. Maybe slightly similar, but nothing like this is not going to be a Shaolin Reco norm. Is to have an album like this. I kind of want to take the approach of like a Kanye West, where I reinvent myself every album, because I feel like after taking the time, the consistency, the reps of writing, delivering my tracks, doing live performances, recording on the mic, just fucking rapping to myself in my bedroom in the mirror. At this point, I feel like that I've relatively kind of mastered. Like that is not something that I have to continuously, effortlessly or put a lot of effort into making sure that I delivered this verse perfect, because I think I've gotten to the point where I could start focusing more of my creative energy on thinking of new ideas rather than just thinking of a good verse, thinking of new sounds rather than just like I said, trying to make these dope ass bars, which I think I'm still capable of.
Yeah.
But I think that there's things of more importance that go into albums that people don't necessarily realize. So definitely that's what I want to get across. I said multiple times before I released this album, like on my social medias and everything, this is not going to be an album that has songs that are really that similar to anything else I've dropped.
Right.
And I said, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, oh well, because this was basically like a period piece. And that's just how it came out. And I would like to keep that same motive and also the same intentions going into each album. You know what I mean? Making sure that every single one kind of has their own life to it, rather than just like pumping out an album and then a year later coming out with one that sounds relatively similar. Maybe it's slightly improved, but more or less it's the same Shaolin Reco. I want to make sure it's a different Shaolin Reco every time from now on.
That's dope. That's dope. I know there's a lot of things that go into the album making process. And you have been through it all, going through your first album. What do you think you've learned most and what you can improve on going into the next project you're working on?
Totally. I think the things that I can improve upon most, I still am very critical of my hooks. I would like to make phenomenal fucking hooks. I think I have the capability to make good hooks right now, but I wanna take that to another level because I feel like I can convey messages if I can just master the catchy portion.
Yeah.
The message I have down, the catchy portion is coming. I think it can be put to another level. That's definitely one thing. Another thing, I would like to, and that would take a lot of grinding, that would take a lot of honing my skills, but I would like to also improve my overall singing ability. Being able to almost be like a Drake.
Right.
Being able to incorporate almost rapping, singing at the same time, the way that he's able to put melody into rapping, and the way he's able to create, slightly R&B songs. Not saying that I'm going to be making R&B music,
right,
but just being able to incorporate the melodies, I think is important because that is another way that you can contribute a lot of emotion to the tracks. In this, I predominantly focus on the aggressive nature, so that doesn't necessarily require like a lot of like high tier singing, but I think I have it within me. I have an understanding of melody. I can hold notes, but I want to create a better vocal range, and I want to create a better perfection of being able to think of really unique types of melodies and stuff like that. Because I feel like this album as a whole, I can draw comparisons from certain artists as my inspirations on my previous works. To be honest with you, I can't think of an artist that had music that sounds like The Red Room. Like you know what I mean? Like, it definitely doesn't sound like, oh, this guy draws influence from A$AP Rocky, or this guy draws influence from this guy or this guy. I seriously don't know, and I've listened to the music, and I've tried to pinpoint, like, where am I getting this sound from?
Right.
I really don't know, so I can only conclude that it's just my own sound.
And that's dope. That's dope as fuck. And the reason why it's dope as fuck is because everybody nowadays, this guy sounds like him. It's very hard to be individual. And you look at everybody now, think of everybody who's at the top of the game right now. You got your Drakes, you got your Kendricks, you got your J. Coles. All of them sound very independent. They don't sound similar. And you were talking about Drake. Even though I love talking about Drake, I'll talk about Drake all damn day.
Yes, sir.
But when we think of an artist like him, you were talking about melodies. It's very hard to be melodic when you're rapping because not everyone can do it. And when you're talking about that, I've even seen it in some rappers over time. Progressively, they learn how to do it. Because at first, J. Cole couldn't do it. Now J. Cole has the melodic thing down like that.
Definitely.
Same thing with Kendrick. Kendrick has got it down like that. Another person who's trying to do it is DaBaby. Lil Baby doing the same thing. So you see that's kind of the way the game is. Now we talk about, even 10, 15 years ago, the melodic voice thing, it was not that it wasn't a thing, probably wasn't even cool. No one wants to hear a rapper sing.
Totally.
Yeah, because remember when Drake started doing that shit, people were like, yo, what the hell is he doing?
Soft.
Yeah, and now everybody's looking up to Drake instead of looking down on him.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's one of the things that, I've always been, that's why I've been such a huge fan of him, is that, someone like Drake, the fact that he has the ability to be on a rap track, he can do R&B. I still think, personally, Scorpion is one of the most underrated albums that was dropped last decade. I really felt that way. The fact this dude is at the top of his game and he drops an album that has an A-side and B-side, which is we don't see anymore. No. He had a whole rap side of the album and a whole R&B side of the album. That was dangerous. Really could have fucked him over. But he had hits on both ends. Talk about melodies and being melodic. The advancement of the rap game is different now. You have to have different things. You can't just be in one lane. Yeah. And when you're talking about things like that, it's not just someone like Drake. You see J. Cole. When J. Cole links up with these R&B artists, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like he has when he was with Jeremiah. Hooked up on Planes. Like, I remember Planes like it was yesterday. The fact that, you got this hard rapper, but then he has the ability to soften his tone a little bit, so I'm guessing that's what you're trying to do in terms of, not change who you are, but even though you're an individual, you have to adapt to the game.
Exactly.
Right? You have to adapt to the game. So as time goes on, how do you feel your way of producing your message, producing your music, how do you think that's going to adapt and grow with the way the game is exponentially growing right now?
Basically, I think what's really important is that obviously you stay true to yourself.
Right.
Correct? You obviously also have to adapt. I think a lot of rappers recognize this, but they also, it's a fine line you have to walk. Because then you have people who are like, all right, I'm going to stay totally myself. But then at the same time, they don't understand why their shit isn't selling. And that is common. You got to understand that you got to give something the fans want to listen to. Right. But you also got to make them attracted to yourself. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's a message that a lot of people can get on board with. You know what I mean? It's not something that, like, for example, let's say there's someone who heavily references drug use, for example, in their music. Right. Like, that's something that a lot of people find a lure in, and I understand that, but at the same time, I want something that could be like, you don't need to get high to listen to this music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So basically, what I want is not necessarily to please everybody, but I want a general theme, like everyone can be like, all right, even if I don't like this music, all right, well, I can get on board with those ideas. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ideas that are good. Ideas that have purity to them. Even though there might be unpure things said in the music, it's not going to be used for the specific reason of like, oh, let me flex that, like, I got these guns, or let me flex that I take these drugs. If those things are being used in the song, they're being used to paint something of myself. Whether that actually be maybe like negative and like me almost like self-deprecating, be like, for example, like the song Ibuprofen, the end of the last refrain of the song is like Ibuprofen, I need more meds, I need more meds. That's not necessarily not trying to glorify that shit. What I'm trying to say is that there's a dependency there, right? Like, I don't smoke marijuana anymore. I can't. I don't know if you actually know this, but I'm going into the United States Marine Corps. Okay. Yeah. So.
That's why the body's getting right at the gym, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's why it's getting crazy. Word. And yeah. So I don't smoke marijuana anymore. So basically, even then, while I was smoking, I had this hatred about it because I felt like, damn, why do I always feel a need to do this? Or it was always like, it was something that bothered me. So I wasn't using it to like glorify. It wasn't like the song I actually released a few years ago, me and this kid right here, Shaolin Reco. One track that you will find with Shaolin Reco on that is public right now as of 2021 is a song called 2 J's for Tomorrow in probably 2019, something like that. And that song was basically a weed anthem, right? So when I'm referencing marijuana or another type of substance in my music, like in the Red Room, for example, let's say, for example, I'm not using it in a way to glorify it. I'm using it in a way to tell something about myself. And let's say in the context of ibuprofen, I'm trying to use it to explain why all this aggressive, spastic lyrics and behaviors in the music. Well, it's not, I don't like it. I need more meds, but I don't like it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the ibuprofen is almost kind of an allusion to like a numbing agent.
Yeah, because it's a painkiller. I mean? Yeah. I like how you speak on that because all songs now in rap, everyone's talking about the glorification of drugs. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a glorification of drugs. It's people telling their story about their history with drugs.
Yeah, that's also true.
And it's so hard for people to understand. Everyone's like, oh, all these rappers, they're glorifying drugs, Juice WRLD and X and all these kind of dudes. And they're like, oh, and they died because that has nothing to do with anything. It's the fact that, they've had experiences with these substances.
And they've struggled with them.
Exactly. And this is their story. And rap is their outlet. For me, personally, I was one of those people for the longest time. Because I heard Juice WRLD's music and I heard X's music. Or, I was in a Ski Mask. I'm like, yo, dude's talking about popping perks and, smoking and drinking and taking all these damn pills. Like, who wants to listen to this? But then the crazy thing is for me is that when these people die, then you understand. I feel like when Juice WRLD died, people truly understood. They're like, oh, he wasn't like glorifying drugs. He was just telling his story.
Yeah.
That's what he was dealing with.
Yeah.
And I guess what I want to know from you as an artist, how do you feel in terms of people talking about, not necessarily talking about drugs, but how artists now, they're not always true to themselves, telling their story. And in this way, where is it as an artist you find out that artists are rapping about shit they actually know about and shit they want people to hear just to make a hit? Because I feel like there's a difference there. I know too many rappers that rap about a month. Like, remember that interview with Lil Tecca?
Yeah.
And he was like, I ain't got no guns, I don't have whips and all that kind of stuff.
I've never been to Italy.
Yeah, like,
None of that.
but he made hits, and he's still making hits. Where do you as an artist get that fine line and be like, I can't rap about shit like that because I don't know about that kind of stuff. So where do you draw that line to turn up? Yeah, I want to make a hit, but I have to be my individual self.
Yeah, totally. If it's something I know about, I'll talk about it. If it's something that I at least have an opinion on, I'll talk about it. But I'll talk about it in an opinion-based sense. So I'm not gonna grab. Let's take for example Lil Tecca.
Yeah.
What I think, people can talk about certain things, but the authenticity definitely bleeds through, right? So someone could listen to that, and let's be real, the masses, they don't care if you're actually about it. Because, all right, in the 90s, if you weren't about it and you were rapping about it, there was a huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem. Nowadays, it's not the same because we see many artists that might be talking about firearms, for example, is a huge one. It's a big one that a lot of people fake, especially, guns. But or gang affiliation, another one. So that's one thing that people hear. If they find out, like, hey, this person doesn't actually do that, this person doesn't actually do this, they're like, oh, okay, well, they're kind of fake, but I still like their music. However, you can do even better than that. You can get the best of both worlds. You can talk about things you legitimately know about and be revered by the masses. Take, for example, J. Cole. When did he ever feel obliged to talk about things that he wasn't actually about? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he honestly built a lot of his fan base and his career off of really humbling himself on a lot of tracks.
True.
You know what I mean? So,
True.
Yeah, you can go towards the path of glorification, try to get those hits, whatever, or, not the path of glorification, but the path of unauthenticity. And that won't necessarily make or break you in today's music scene, but at the same time, if you have the music, if the music is there, the quality of the music is there, and you're still yourself, people also find the value in that. At the end of the day, they will find a value in that, and that's what differentiates a timeless piece of work between something that might just be a fad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think the line for me is that I will talk about it if I either, one, have experienced it, or two, have an opinion on it. If it's something that's completely detached from me, like, you will never, ever, ever hear me talk about anything gang related. That's not my life. That's not an environment that I'm from.
Right.
That's not something that I know about. I am not going to fabricate that. Not only because it will come off as unauthentic, but number two, you will run the risk of a situation where someone will check you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is nothing to be played about. You will get checked.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Maybe if I were to bring up something like firearms, you know what I mean? I'm not a consistent, I don't carry guns. But if I use firearms, it'll be in a type of wordplay sense.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to go shoot this guy, I'm going to go shoot that guy. But let's say, for example, like, I'm spitting like, an AK-47, blah, 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 type shit. You know what I mean? So it's not me literally saying I walk around with a gun in my pants 24/7.
Yeah. That's just something in terms of music that's so hard for people to understand. Where there's some people who are out here really capping, like dead ass out here capping about everything they put into their music, and then you have people that are so authentic, and I think that's the shit right there that so many people cannot wrap their head around. That's why I have so much respect for J. Cole and Kendrick.
Totally.
They rap about real shit. They rap about their lives. They're telling stories. And sometimes people just don't fuck with it. But they'll listen to crap by 6ix9ine and Tekka and all these other kind of people. Yeah, they're making hits, but they're not telling any stories of substance.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very hard.
Yeah. Last
thing I want to go over with the album in terms of your creative process. You were talking about telling, you're talking about gang-related stuff and telling your story. You're not from that area. Obviously, we're both from the same place. How have you been able to get over the hump of realizing, a lot of these other rappers, they from the hood, right? Mm-hmm. They from the ghetto. They have they have a serious story to tell. Yeah. And Nas is like, I got a story. Like, I got a story to tell. You know what I'm saying? But you from the burbs.
Yeah.
How hard is it, or even if it is, for you to articulate a message that you want to get out there, or for you to tell your story, and you haven't really had any crazy, insane experiences that some of these other dudes have had.
Yeah.
But you're from this area. Not saying you haven't had any personal experiences, with the law. You've obviously talked about, being detained by the police, but we live a different lifestyle than some of these other dudes do. So how are you able to put that lifestyle and your story into your music?
For a long time, I had this confliction with always thinking to myself, how the hell are you gonna rap? What the fuck are you gonna talk about?
Right.
You know what I mean? How many things can you possibly bring up? You're not like someone like Polo G, who's had so many friends die, and you can make all these references to these past traumas. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I haven't had traumas in my past, but the thing is, those things are very good to storytell about, and they should be told in the music. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I always had a big issue with what the hell do I always talk about? So what I started to realize was that, okay, if you can't always talk about these external influences that might be affecting you, there's always one thing that you could always turn to, and that's what's going on in here, in your mind. You could talk about internal influences, things that going through a war with yourself. That's something that everyone could always tell about themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? As long as you're being honest with yourself and you're not shunning those feelings and those thoughts away. Right. You could definitely talk about internal struggles. I was never fully blown depressed, but I did suffer from pretty damn bad anxiety for a lot of my adolescent life. Whether that may be external influences like being detained by the law. I had 2 run-ins with the law. One I was detained, one I wasn't. But things like that. Also being able to talk about, we're from the suburbs. At the same time, though, personally speaking from my perspective, my family was never the richest family. You know what I mean? So for me, it was never like growing up as a teenager, I don't have to worry about car insurance. I don't have to worry about paying for this, paying for that. I had to have a job. You know what I mean? Otherwise, my parents can't buy everything for me. So while that might seem like much more normal, than something that would come out of a place like, someone who is storytelling from Compton or storytelling from Chicago. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's definitely more normal and more sheltered. But at the same time, you always got people who can relate to that. I mean, if we look at someone like Drake was never broke. Yeah. But he did have things to tell about his life, whether that may be heartbreak, whether that may be him talking about, on the song The Resistance, where he's like, they just moved my grandmother into a nursing home, but I'm acting like I don't even know how to work a phone. Right. So in that context, he's talking about his lack of communication with family members. There's always things like that you can talk about. Totally. So, and yeah, like I said, I always had that issue, like, what the hell am I going to talk about? But I realized if you dig deep enough, you will always find something to talk about. Because, you know, there's never a perfect time in life. You'll always find something that might be bothering you in the back of your head that, although it might not seem like a movie type thing, it doesn't have to always be a movie. Because if you talk about more normal things, like, let's say, struggling to keep a job, like, I can't stand this shit anymore. I want to break out. I want to be successful. That's something so many people, if not everyone, can relate to. You know what I mean? People who are working minimum wage jobs, even if they do come from a suburb or whatever, they're like, man, I want to be something better than this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like the intention in my music, it may not be released as of right now. This is more stuff I've been working on recently. Yeah. But I've been gearing the themes of my music a lot more heavily towards motivation. You know what I mean? Being able to empower. That's kind of what I want to go for, is to talk about basically adversity that I've gone through, not so much as in a nihilistic sense anymore, where it's kind of like, oh, woe is me, like this shit happens. Yeah, shit happens, but you know, life is life. Life is life.
Everyone deals with shit. Yeah,
it's hard. So I want to be able to make music that can give people confidence, basically. You know, music like almost someone who I gained a lot of confidence from, who really started me on a greater mental outlook that is bigger than myself, is Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Nipsey Hussle, you know what I mean, he had a great evolution, I think, in his music, from being someone who was straight out of Crenshaw, mostly gang and violence influenced music, to when you got to the end of his life, he's talking about building businesses, becoming someone better than yourself, focusing on yourself, you know what I mean, talking about Dr. Sebi, you know what I mean, being mentally healthy, you know what I mean, all these things, while also still, you know, bringing back some of the stuff that he had to go through and referencing the things where he came from. He's also talking about, let's not stick in the past. We're talking about building businesses. We're talking about, you know, things that are greater than what we're in right now.
Right. You know, Nipsey, first of all, one of my favorite rappers.
I agree.
Somebody like him, sadly, his life was taken far too soon. But you have a rapper who came from a place where opportunity was minimal, and he just had this outlook on life. I mean, I personally don't even take away a lot of the lessons that I got from his music. More so, just the lessons he was able to teach when he was talking in public.
Of course.
I mean, he's the first rapper I ever saw openly talk about owning real estate.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's
huge.
Talking about real estate, like this man said, he just sounds so intelligent because he is. But when he was talking, just talking about, oh, you know, I don't want to be buying cars and jewelry and everything because those are depreciating assets. Totally. Right, but this man is talking about buying property, buying land. That kind of stuff as an artist, I feel like too many of them don't get enough credit for it.
Definitely.
I mean, you got someone like J. Cole. J. Cole has been spreading the message of, yo, just do you for his whole life. His whole career, he's been doing him. One of the songs I love by J. Cole, Crooked Smile. Crooked Smile, I think, is one of his best songs. Because he was like, yo, why the fuck I gotta fix my teeth to please you? I've been living my life the same way, fine, my whole life, right? I've been doing my thing my entire life. Why do I have to change now just to please the masses?
Exactly.
Fuck the masses. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, right? And now we're seeing with you, you're slowly coming into your own. Eventually, you're going to evolve into this artist, the artist you've always wanted to be, and it's going to take time. But it's great that, you know, at such a young age, you're realizing now, hey, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And you've got that idea. You know, you're not trying to, oh, well, do I want to be like Kendrick? Do I want to be like Baby? No, you're you. And that's important. You know, moving away from the album, you know, let's talk about the music game, bro. We've had a lot of things have occurred recently. You know, Drake winning Artist of the Decade. Let's talk about that. Like, how you feel about Drake winning Artist of the Decade? There was major controversy over that Billboard. major. How you feel about Drake winning Artist of the Decade?
All right, real quick before I speak my opinion, I want my boy Angelo, Shaolin Alo, to speak his opinion.
Let's hear this, man.
I know he's a huge old hip hop head, so I don't even know his opinion on this yet.
Yo,
So
I don't even know about this stuff, to be honest with you. I didn't even know that there's a Billboard chart. Like,
let's brief you real quick.
I know about it, but I'm not like,
Let's brief you.
Date on it.
Basically, what happened was, past few weeks, there was Billboard Music Awards, and Drake was awarded the #1 artist, most influential, greatest artist of the 2010s. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's totally right. He has so many fucking bangers, yo. A lot of his like styles, they're so like not different, but I just feel like Drake always does his thing and shit. Like he always makes some fire ass shit. Like as much as I wanted to hate him, you know. Like,
so I'm saying Drake is the artist you love to hate. I don't care what nobody says, man. But Drake for me, Drake is my LeBron. Listen, I'm Kobe, MJ. Those are the goats to me. You know, LeBron will be beneath those two for forever. But I say it all the time. People think I'm crazy. Like my boys in QC. Once again, shout out QC crew, Tave, DT, OG, Kid, all my niggas, man. I gotta be honest. Like, I personally think Drake is, if not 1 or 2, in terms of the greatest artists of all time. Yes, I put him up there with the Michael Jacksons. And
I have to agree with that.
Here's my spiel.
Up there.
Yeah, for real. Here's my spiel. I finally get to say it's my show. Fuck it. I don't give a shit.
Do it, man.
Fuck it.
Shit.
Listen, Drake. When I compare him to someone like Michael Jackson, I don't think people understand. I'm not talking in terms of fuck the influence. Fuck the influence. Michael Jackson, he was in music for so long.
Definitely.
His influence is different. Yeah. You know, people saw him as a kid. They saw him as a teenager. They saw him as a young adult. They saw him when he got older. And then he died so young, we didn't even get to see him evolve into an even better artist. Yeah. We don't know what could have happened. But I look at Michael Jackson's reign at being on top. There was a time he was on top of R&B. And then there was a time he was on top of pop. And there was a time he was on top of the music game in general. Definitely. I'd probably say all the 80s he was the artist.
The pinnacle.
The artist. Yeah. And his run at the top of the game, even like dropping #1 albums, it wasn't even like Drake.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. And people talk about streaming all the time. Oh, it's streaming. Fine, you want to say streaming, fine. But that's the way the music game is, though. Yeah. And you can say whatever you want about Drake saying, oh, yeah, but, you know, he's making all this money on streaming. That's what these album sales. I'm like, when he dropped his mixtape, that wasn't streaming. No. Dropped his first album, that wasn't streaming.
People forget that was back before like Spotify and Apple Music and shit.
People forget like the artists that really have been making music during this whole streaming platform era. That shit really let's be honest, like probably when I started high school in 2015. 2015 was the year where it's like streaming. Yeah. Everybody streaming.
6 years ago.
Yeah, like I still remember buying CDs back in the day. Like yes, I remember the first CD I bought. It was The End. The Energy Never Dies. Like I think that was one of my favorite Black Eyed Peas albums of all time. Came out in the beginning of the decade. You know, one of my favorite albums. But you look at Drake's reign, not only in rap but in music. We've never, first of all, he has more hits than everybody. Anyone. When he said, I got more hits than the Beatles, he was dead ass. He has more hits than the Beatles. And you're talking about a group that people have glorified for 60 plus years now.
Idolized.
Right? You still have the likes of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson has tons of hits. Michael Jackson has a greatest hits album that actually I have somewhere down here in the basement. And it has like 30-something songs on it.
Yeah.
You telling me Drake can't drop a greatest hits album with 30-plus songs on them?
Totally.
30-plus?
Totally, yeah.
Like, think about how many of Drake's hits have been not only in top 10 in Billboard, but top 5 have been #1. He's got the most #1 hits. Every single album he drops, it debuts at #1. Mixtapes debut at #1. And the thing I always thought was the craziest about Drake was that this dude will feature on someone else's song. And people will think it's Drake's song.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's crazy. People be like, "Oh, yo, it's Drake featuring Drake," because that's what it sounds like. There's songs that I've heard. I'm like, I don't know this song. I hear Drake. Oh, that's not a Drake song.
Yeah, that's like his one line on 5 a.m. in Toronto. Where he's like, give these people the looks, the verse, and even the hooks. That's why every song sounds like Drake featuring Drake. Like, it's really like that. And
self-aware.
And you know the crazy thing about Drake too is that people may credit him always hitting number one on this, number one on that. They'll be like, well, yeah, but, you know, it's also Drake. So, he's so big that he already kind of gets, like, a cut in a line. Well, not necessarily. It plays into it, but not necessarily. Because if Drake were to drop a mid-album or Drake were to drop a straight-up trash album, maybe you'll see it at number 3.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you'll see it at number 4. Yes, Drake does have an advantage being he's such a well-known artist, but let's be real. If people are not fucking with the album, it may be high in streaming just because everyone's gonna check it out.
I want to listen to it,
but it's not
gonna last.
It's not gonna last. Maybe you'll be on the Billboard for like 2-3 weeks at number 4 or 5,
and then
you don't see stuff like Nothing Was the Same.
Nothing Was the Same is still on Billboard Top 200.
Yeah, like
still,
it's crazy.
And that album dropped 2013. Yeah, 2013. Yeah. I was in 7th grade when that dropped. 2013 album dropped, and it's still on Billboard Top 200. There are albums that have dropped a year ago that still aren't on Billboard Top 200.
Exactly.
And for me, that's why I've always given so much love and appreciation to this dude. Like, listen, I've heard it. All my homies in QC, all my boys, you know, shout out X. I know you're gonna say some shit when you hear this. I don't give a shit. Listen, my man's always saying, "Oh, yo, bro, you such a dick sucker, bro." I'm like, I'm not sucking. I'm being real. Like this dude, this man's has such talent. Like we had like someone like Michael Jackson, someone like a Drake. We're not gonna see someone like him, and I think that's the thing. A lot of these people aren't gonna understand. They don't see it now. They don't see the greatness now. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Kanye's crazy." Everyone's saying Kanye's crazy,
which is true.
He's a little wild, but
all
geniuses are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They like he said, name one genius that ain't crazy.
Exactly.
Dead ass. They're all fucking wild. But I don't think we're gonna be able to appreciate the greatness of some of these artists for another 20 some odd years, or sadly until after they die.
Yeah, likely.
You know, J. Cole said it best. He said, you know, we're not going to be appreciated until after we die, or so I've heard. You know, it's all I've been told. But it's true. And, you know, the appreciation, and I think partially, you know, Drake has made music that for a lot of people they can connect with. Not many people, even though people love to hear Kendrick's stories and they love to hear J. Cole's story, on the bigger scale, many people can't connect with those stories.
That was the point that I was trying to bring up about my music. Was like I said, Drake's never been broke, but Drake is able to talk about things that a majority of people have gone through.
He lived a middle class life.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So Drake is actually a prime example and one of my biggest inspirations in that sense, where it was like, Drake really showed me, like, you don't have to have this fucking insanely fucked up life to tell stories, because you can have good parts of your life, but there's always going to be those things, like I said, that bother you, those things that may that may affect you. You might not always have a friend that, you know, unfortunately passes away, but you always have these things to talk about. They're always there. You just have to be able to find them, because they're not as apparent as, like, I've gone through all this stuff that's directly affected me, people losing their lives, going through extreme poverty. Those are great things to talk about, but it's also easy to talk about them because they're apparent. Like, these are obviously things you could talk about. Someone like Drake, he's able to create perspectives and opinions. It's like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've gone through that, but I've never thought about it in that specific way. And I feel like his lyricism is gravely underrated. It's horrendously underrated. His lyricism is phenomenal. You know what I mean? The way that he phrases things, that he phrases them in a lot of ways, like almost like he's effortlessly talking to you, but also rapping. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas some artists do not always do that, which is perfectly fine. But I find Drake's way of delivering messages is to be so addictive.
He just has that ability to to convey a message in a bunch of different ways.
Totally.
I think that's the thing people hate on him most. They're like, oh, he doesn't rap about anything of substance. No, he doesn't rap about anything of substance to you. But I hear a lot of his music and I'm like, yo, he raps about, you know, his relationships. He raps about him growing up. He raps about just one of the things that I love that he does, and I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of people talking their shit. Drake talks his shit.
Totally.
He's like, yo, I'm the best in the game. Like when he's talking, what's next? All he was doing was talking his shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making a change today. The liquor been taking the pain away. When he said, I sit in the box where the owners do, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shit talking right there. But he can say that shit because he's been there. He's doing it. Yeah. Like, no one has more leverage in the game than he does. Totally. I mean, this man's rented out a whole fucking football field
to celebrate
winning Artist of the Decade.
Yeah.
People can't do that. Not even J. Cole can do that. The only person that can probably do that maybe is Jay-Z. And Jay-Z, not saying Jay-Z ain't relevant, but Jay-Z is not what he was in the game.
Yeah, of course.
You know, Jay-Z, and I hate to say, I know a lot of old heads that love rap are gonna be very upset with this, but you gotta understand, you gotta adapt to the game. Drake is on the same level of a Jay-Z, of a Kanye, of these guys that they're on an island by themselves. You can't touch them. They could drop some shit, and it's like, yeah, well, look at everything else they've done. It's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You could look past it.
So check this out, right? So I don't know if you know. I think you've heard about this, but Drake and Lil Wayne, they were gonna make an album, but then Watch the Throne, Jay-Z and Kanye, right?
Yeah.
You know, like they released the album. So what happened was, like on this Tim Westwood interview, like Drake is like, yeah, me and Lil Wayne were gonna drop an album, but like, now we're not gonna do that because they released Watch the Throne, and pretty much what happened was like when Watch the Throne and Kanye came out, like Drake was just like, damn, I can't do this. So he moved on to the next endeavor. You know, he's a chess player, so he knows if he drops his Carter album, you know, I mean, sorry, not Carter album, you know, Lil Wayne, Drake collab, it's not gonna be numbers,
big.
You know.
Yeah, it's not gonna hit the same because it's like, oh, well, you know, Jay-Z and Kanye just did that, you know.
Yeah.
So I was actually smart of him, you know what I mean.
That's another thing I can say, like, in terms of what he does in the game. Drake is smart, you know.
Totally.
We get mad at Kendrick for not dropping shit because Kendrick deadass does not drop anything.
Yeah.
We have not heard from him since Damn, and even though I love Damn, that's my favorite Kendrick album, and I will argue with anybody to my last breath that I think that is one of the greatest rap albums I've ever fucking heard. Just the story, when you were talking about somebody making every song, putting it meticulously in this order. I mean, that dude told his entire life story, and we had no idea until the last song. You hear Duckworth, and you hear the whole album in reverse, and you're like,
what the
fuck? Shit! He was talking about himself this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea. But in terms of Drake, think about it now, 2021. We've been waiting on 3 albums.
Yeah.
4 if you want to count Yandi. Kanye is at this point.
That ain't coming.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever coming. And, you know, he's all on this whole Christian thing.
Although, real quick, I think that album would have been fucking crazy. I don't know if you've ever heard Yandi Leaks.
I've heard some of that. If it would have dropped when it was supposed to, now I think the hype is just...
It's
It's done.
Well, I think people forgotten about it, to be honest. And the reason why I also think it's never going to come out is because there were songs that ended up on Jesus is King, which were originally Yandi Leaks, but were altered to fit the Christian theme. So, honestly, like you said, Kanye is on a very religious path right now. Who knows, maybe the rest of his life.
We'll
potentially.
See what happens.
So... Honestly, like that non-secular type music, I don't see that coming through again.
Nah, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, like I was saying, we're talking about 2021. We've been waiting on 3 highly anticipated albums. We're waiting on Kendrick to drop. Who knows when the hell he's going to drop. Kendrick does what he does. You know, he's got, PG Lang going, and he's got his whole business thing.
Working with Baby Keem.
And I fuck with that heavy. But we've been waiting on J. Cole, and we're waiting on Drake. Certified Lover Boy, waiting on that shit.
Fucking waiting,
like,
man. Waiting.
When the off season dropped, I remember it. It was I was in the middle of Hell Week. And it was actually my last day of Hell Week, and I'm sitting downstairs. I'm actually sitting in our chapter room, and I was like, oh shit. J. Cole just dropped this shit. I gotta hear this. And I remember some of my brothers were like, yo, you gotta play that. I wanna hear that. The whole album. It's only like 40-something minutes long, but damn, it was worth the wait. And now, Drake has all the power of the music game. It rests in his hands. It doesn't matter when he drops it, the whole world's gonna set on fucking fire.
Yeah.
Like that's the last thing I'm gonna say about Drake, because I don't make this whole thing about him. But to have that much power over an entire industry is crazy. I remember a couple months ago someone had said, yo, it was Russ. And people hate on Russ. First of all, Russ makes great music. He needs to be way more respected. That man writes and produces all his own shit, that's a serious talent that very few have. Very few have. Not even Drake has that talent. Drake can write his own shit, but he ain't producing all his own shit.
Exactly.
You know, Russ said in the podcast, he was like, yo, could y'all imagine if Drake would go independent? The music business would just shut down.
It would fucking explode.
It would explode. Like that, he would have too much power.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone in the music game, all music executives, the heads of all these record companies should like be on their hands and knees kissing at his feet. Thank you, Drake. Thank you for staying with OVO. Thank you for staying with Wayne. Like we need you to stay here, because if Drake did his own thing, who knows what the fuck they'd do?
Yeah.
They'd be losing money like a motherfucker. How you feel about that?
I mean, I personally believe that the music industry, they are deep within rooted. They got connections. They got funds. They have unlimited funds, actually. So I feel like, you know, as much as it would be a takeaway from Drake, the music industry will forever run.
Right.
And like,
but
it would be a big like kick.
Yeah, it would be huge.
It would be a big kick.
It really would be huge, man. You know, over the past year, sadly, we've had some greats pass away. This is something I didn't get the chance to talk to you about on the last podcast, season 1. You know, we talk about Juice WRLD and everything, and all these guys dying. One of my top 5 favorite rappers of all time, DMX, you know, passed away.
Oh yeah, it's monumental.
And you know, for me, even though I was not alive when he was at his peak, we talk about 98 to about like 2002, he was the guy. I mean, man dropped 3 albums in 2 years, and they all went number 1. 2 albums in the same year and both went number 1. That's leverage. That's crazy. But sadly, he passed away. Sadly, Juice WRLD passed away. Sadly, someone Pop Smoke passed away. MF Doom passed away as well. I saw the ring. That's actually why I brought it up. You talk about these greats that have passed away. And each of them have had a posthumous album dropped. What's your feeling about posthumous albums? Because before you answer it, there's only one out of the 3 I didn't like. It was the DMX album. I'm not a fan of Exodus at all. And the only reason why I say that is because when I heard it, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It, first of all, dropped way too fucking soon.
Yeah,
it was
very fast.
I was like, yeah, because he only died like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then the album just dropped last week. And when I heard it, I was like, no. Because the moment I saw the track list, I was like, first of all, too many damn features, which means the feature's going to take up most of the songs.
Which means they probably didn't have enough material.
Nope. Because I remember Swiss Beats like 3 days ago was on the Breakfast Club talking about the fact that he had to take Pop Smoke off Money, and put Moneybagg Yo on the song in order to fill it. So I'm like, you guys were doing all this shit last minute?
Yeah, just like piecing
it was
stuff
just
together.
That doesn't feel right.
Yeah, to me, I felt like the album was kind of disrespectful to a goat. Like DMX was really that man for a very, very long time. One of the most respected dudes in the game. But you know, like I said, how do you feel about these guys dropping posthumous albums? And do you think they're necessary? Do you think they should continue to happen? Because they're saying even Juice WRLD has more stuff to drop. How do you feel about that?
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna answer, and then I'm gonna let you answer real quick. Basically, my opinion is pretty concrete, and I've been holding this opinion for a while now. If the album was supposed to be on its way, if the album was at least I'd hope at least 85% finished. Yeah. If all of the intentions on the concept and the themes were already conveyed by the artist while they're alive, I think it will be okay. Because it's like, all right, we're going to give them that victory lap, get that album out that they always wanted to get out. You know what I mean? So in that case, one thing I thought was a great example of this was Mac Miller's Swimming. That was a phenomenally handled posthumous album because not only was that album almost all complete by the time he died, I think it was almost completely done, but also his family was able to give it, its justice. You know what I mean? They were able to present it to the world in a way that's not like, oh, like right after he dies, Mac Miller has a posthumous album on the way. Like, you know what I mean? So it was more like, it was probably a while after he died, a few months, where they announced it, and then it only came out months later. So if I'm correct, he died in September of 2018. I don't think that album dropped until 2020. So, and the album was almost all done. But what they did was they gave enough time for him to rest. And they allowed things to be the way they were and then be like, okay, I think you're now ready for Mac Miller's final word.
And, now you make a very interesting point because give him time to rest. Now that I think about it, they probably had to drop that DMX album because if people don't even know, he did not have much money left over in his estate. Remember, he's got 15 kids.
Yeah.
They definitely had to push that album. Now that I'm thinking about it, you probably had to push an album like that just so the family could get some money. The primary breadwinner is no longer here, and he did not leave much left. Because remember, he was dealing with tax evasion and everything. That's why he went to jail in the first place. It's a damn shame that the album was dropped, in my opinion. I have friends that love it. And they're like, oh, it's so good. I'm like, I mean, that's your opinion. I'm not going to hate on it. But there are few posthumous albums I've heard that I'm like, yo. Pop Smoke. That album was very well put together.
I thought it was well done.
It came out months after his death. We already knew it was coming out anyways because he was, before he was killed. That's when he was in LA recording it and promoting it and everything. Sucks that it happened, but it is what it is. But you had something to say about these posthumous albums, so give your spiel, bro.
Pretty much I kind of agree with Gabe with a lot of it. I'm just gonna say more simplified version. It's about the presentation and how the respect that you give to the dead, but also the presentation and the content of the album. That's the most important 3 pillar stones. And also, what you said, time waiting, right?
Yeah, give it enough time to breathe.
Yeah, that's probably the most important part though, because depending on how much what the family needs, like you said with DMX, they probably really did need to push that shit out. DMX had a lot of, I don't even know,
a lot of financial troubles, a lot of financial, and there's the things we don't know about, exactly. That I would never want to talk on. That's another man's family.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we got in terms of music, I think there's a certain art that goes into it. I don't think it was a terribly produced album. I just think it was rushed.
Yeah.
It was rushed. And who knows? Maybe there's more music that we have from DMX that we didn't get.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, these guys that drop posthumous albums or have had posthumous albums come out, most of them didn't. Most of them needed it at the time because, hey, Juice WRLD, he was still. I mean, damn, Juice WRLD was only, really 1 year into him being Juice WRLD?
Yeah.
Pop Smoke was not a couple months. A couple months. Because I remember Welcome to the Party and Foreigner, when I heard him on the radio, where, we live in the tri-state area. We hear New York radio all the time. I was when I first heard Welcome to the Party, I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? What the hell is he saying? It sounded awful. And then he died. Then I started listening to his music more. Then the album dropped. And I'm like, oh yeah, this dude was really dropping great music. We needed that because we didn't have enough of him.
Yeah.
DMX, we didn't need that album. It's we have flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. We have all of these great albums. We have enough, man.
They're sentimental too.
Yes, yes, because we're talking about albums that were at the top for a very long time. Exactly, and will be set in stone for the rest of his life. People forget he is the first rapper to have his first 5 albums debut at number 1.
Yeah, for his party anthem, the one song is called Party Anthem.
Party Up goes stupid. Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's funny. I was listening to it. So he was doing a podcast. I forgot which one he was on, but he was talking about Party Up, and he was like, "Yo, listen, I just wanted a song that people could fight to, and it ended up being a party anthem." That's what he said. He said, I wanted to make a song that people could party to, and they can fight to at the same time. And he, like, you know how DMX be. He's like, he's very straight to the point. He's like, they can fight to it and they can party and that's it. And I'm like, all right, I respect it. And that's exactly
what they want to.
And do it, yeah. It's like, and that's exactly what happens. That song comes on at the party, everybody's bumping. Yeah. You know, and it's that type of energy the song gives off. But that's the thing, right? Music gives off energy. It's supposed to draw emotion. You're supposed to feel something. I think if you hear a song, you don't feel anything, if you don't take anything from it, then why'd you drop it?
Exactly.
You know, why are you dropping shit that doesn't have substance? Don't just drop bullshit. Drop something. Everyone doesn't have to understand it. Everyone doesn't have to be like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about or she's talking about. That doesn't make a difference. It's the fact that, are you dropping music? Are you dropping artwork that's true to yourself? And you're doing that. Now, before we head out, I need two things. Number one, I want to know what's happening next, man. What's going on? You dropped the first album. You talking about the deluxe. Now, what's going on moving forward with you?
Yes. So basically, got a few things coming up this month real fast, man. It's real fast, primarily because I actually don't have a lot of time here left. Like I said, I'm joining the United States Marine Corps. I'm gonna go off the basic training this month, actually.
Word.
So, and a little bit of backstory on that. One of the primary reasons why I want to do that, man, is there's nothing now in my life that I value more than mental hardening and discipline. Because honestly, let's look at some of those people that I was talking about, like that are bigger than what they are, like a Nipsey Hussle, a Jay-Z. These guys, fantastically celebrated and successful, only got there through discipline. You think Jay-Z would have gotten to be a billionaire if he didn't have a disciplined business-like mindset? It came from that. It comes from being mentally strong and also having that, like I said, discipline is huge for me now in my life. I've recognized it to be such a great factor and amazing trait that you can have. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Basically, what we expect, or what you should expect from me, is there's going to be 2 music videos. We were going to have 3 music videos, but we decided to actually cut it down for the sake of not only time, but I feel like the story will actually probably, and the music videos basically tie into each other. Okay. So they go into each other in a narrative type sense. So I think that the third one might have been a little bit overkill. In the context that we didn't have full 100% confident intentions on this is exactly what we're conveying. It was going to be more of a conventional type music video, you know, like more of a normal type music video. But these two had a specific, like, basically scenes and types. The things I'm doing in it plays into each other. So we're going to do 2 music videos for the Red Room. I'll give you guys, you know, a little preview. It doesn't matter to me that much, but the songs that I'm going to be doing it on are See You on Mars and Other Side of America. Okay. So
I think that Other Side of America concept was going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is basically, I just want to give like a foreclosure. Don't expect something that's necessarily going to be flat out visual commentary. Okay? It's going to be very, very low key. It really, honestly, I don't even know if I expect anyone to understand what I'm trying to present, because it's more personal to me. What these little intricacies of the video mean and what happens in the video, certain things that'll happen in the video. Like, I don't expect everyone to understand it. Maybe I'll drop like some kind of explanation or analysis to kind of give people an idea of what I was going for. Right. But, you know, definitely, they're going to be amazing fucking videos. My boy Jan Doby, Alex Cervantes, and Giovanni Cervantes, they're the masterminds behind the shooting and everything. Phenomenal work from those guys. Amazing professionalism, great editing and everything. So I wanted to shout them out real quick. Yeah, no. So yeah, 2 music videos and then a deluxe is probably going to be around 3 to 4 songs is what we're aiming for. We're not even totally sure because I'm still on the fence about putting 1 or 2 songs on. I want to make sure that, you know, I know they're good songs, but maybe they're better off honestly being separate from the album. Maybe I'll end up releasing them down the road as singles or something like that. Who knows? Maybe even a B-side to the Red Room. But, you know, we'll figure that out. All you got to know is that there's definitely going to be a deluxe edition. That'll be dropping in the near future because like I said, I don't have too much time here in Jersey right now. I'll be on a hiatus for a little while. because I'll be going through those, going through the physical and mental adversity of going through Marine Corps training, and I'm excited for that. And basically, once I get established in the Marine Corps, I will be able to drop music. And the great thing that grants me is that it's going to grant me a lot more life experience and things to talk about, because, who knows what's in front of me taking this path in life. At the end of the day, we can't always just sit on our music and expect it to propel us to stardom and wealth immediately. Yeah. So what I wanted to do is focus on something that I've always kind of wanted to do since I was young. And like I said, I think it'll grant me such phenomenal insight on myself, on the world, new perspectives, meet new people.
So much more content. Man.
More content. You know what I mean?
Content.
That's what I view it as, you know what I mean? A way to better myself and also perhaps get more insight to better my music. Yeah. And the music is not going away. It's just, there's going to be, after the deluxe and the videos, there will be a little break. People can enjoy the Red Room as it is right now. I'm not going on a Kendrick type break. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, man, don't take 7 years off, bro. We need some shit, man.
Don't worry about that. It'll just be a slight break, and then once I'm established, I'll definitely...
Big word. Now, before we go, I did not, my dad reminded me of this the first time you were on here. Yo, man, can we get a little freestyle? Let's do whatever. Freestyle? Do whatever you gotta do.
All right, we're both in lead.
Take a 30-second spot or whatever. Say whatever the fuck you want to say. I gotta hear this.
Would you just like some lyrics?
Let's hear it straight off the dome. Cause listen, listen, all my listeners, bro. Yo, I've heard this man's spit before. In person numerous times when he was like 16. Okay, man, this 3 years later, bro. We let's hear it, bro. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna spit you a little something. Look, put in a status report. My life thus far hardly ever had to report. For sure, the pad's a resort. If I paddled so damn fast, what's the last of the short? I don't give a damn, leave a chain in the front seat. Even if they mug me, they never really touch me. Damn, this is an unbreakable mind. Go ahead and shake up the bacon and make up your mind. I heard the gambler manhandled the burglar, panhandle we serve in Florida with the murders. My cousin lost his life to a bitch who wasn't worth it. He had a chip on the shoulder, that's what the word is. Rendezvous at Waterloo, taught me how to load and shoot. Spoke on this shit once or twice, the coast I hope to put on mute. Damn, here's one trip back. If you hit it, click back, little boy, don't step back. I can recall when these halls were on recall. We rage all day and nightly until the breeze gone. Damn, that's one thing to say. All I gotta know is I'm gonna pass it to Alo.
Yo, check it out. Shall Alo shall collect riches. Unlike bitches, we keep it real. How many times do I gotta tell you? Gangsta appeal. No love. Marine thugs. Can you believe it? We call it even. Break the chain open. Y'all stay hoping that we fall, but we stay winning across the halls cause we in it for all of y'all. Now check it. You want the gold, we want the pots, we want respect, kid. If you getting nothing, then we slapping up your next shit. With 2 knives, cross that windpipe, you dead it. Beheaded like an ISIS video on deep when you repeat on CIA rhetoric. Ooh. Yeah, I check it out. Wild style, I'ma pass it right back to the man Shao.
You got the wild style coming from Shao, RECO, future CEO. Got a girl, she's half black, half Creole. Never mind, that's full descent. Everybody wanna see me when I go up, like Folger's Pent. You wanna know I gotta speak on this shit, but I ain't talking about conservative like Mike Pence. I'ma speak from the heart, I'ma speak from the start. Don't understand that I'm fire retardant, cause it just started. Let me go ahead and start the party and pass it off. I don't gotta whack it off. I'ma shoot you up with a Kalashnikov, not in the literal sense, more in the verbal. Make sure when Rico come through, he won't hurt you. All I gotta say is that I'ma go and do my dirt, boo. But all I know is that I ain't gonna usurp you. I was always the king, always had the ring. Every single time I do this shit, I'm doing my thing. Let me pass it off one more time. So so Alo can spit one more fine rhyme. This is all unscripted. You know we ain't bitching. I'ma send it one more time.
Yo,
go ahead, get it.
Yo, raw product of destruction when we coming for you. Slash your necks, open up. Hard shell like a turtle. We real change, we real sayings. Real killers killers, real killers feelers. Fakes fucking hate us. Why they can't relate to us? You really believe this? We call it serious raps. I'm about to pass it back.
Oh shit, we passing it
Oh,
back.
yeah, we good. Yo,
Yeah.
yo, man, that's talent. That's talent. I promise you, they ain't have shit written. That was off the dome. And I know I put y'all on the spot, but you
gotta go under pressure.
You exceeded my expectations. Man. Both of y'all, I mean, I wish you guys nothing but success in all your endeavors with this music thing, man. You know, clearly you both have talent. I see the old school in you, dog. I see it. I hear it. I hear it. I hear the Wu-Tang. I see the chain. I hear the Wu-Tang in you. And that's love, man, because that's me, bro. I grew up on that shit. Wu-Tang, Pac, Biggie, Big L, you know, all these dudes, like that's my shit too. You know, I love the new school stuff, but the old school stuff, you know, too many of these cats now, they ain't got no respect for the 90s, no respect for the 80s. Listen, I'm still Sugar Hill Gang. I'm still, you know, I'm with all that shit, you know, and I respect somebody like you who still shows love to the old heads, because without them we would not be here.
It's huge.
You know, we wouldn't be here without LL, Run DMC, all these dudes. They paved the way straight up, man. But you know, like I said, I wish y'all nothing but success in all your endeavors in the future, man. Yo, good luck with the Marine Corps. I know you're gonna kill that shit. Now it makes sense, man. Every day on Snapchat, I'm like, yo, this man's getting ripped. Ripped. I see you, man. But all I gotta say is, damn, I'm glad to be back in the studio.
Glad to have you back.
Appreciate it, man. Because everyone's been like, "Yo, Dante, when you dropping the next podcast? When you doing this?" I'm like, "Hey, man, listen, I've been in school, but I'm back home.
Understood.
It's time to get back on the grind." People, listen to No Cap Podcast. We're gonna be doing some big things. We got merch. I got the merch already. We got the t-shirts, $25 a pop. Hit your boy up. Send me the Cash App, and I will give you a t-shirt. Listen, these shirts are coming out hot, but I got a lot of other things coming. I plan on dropping sweatshirts, hats, things for the girls. Listen, when summer comes up next year, we're going to be dropping crop tops and all that kind of stuff. I want everybody in that No Cap gear. Everybody. But listen, man, the No Cap Podcast is back in full swing, summer 2021. I'm very excited. We back. No cap. That's a fact. I know y'all missed that. But I'll see y'all later. Peace.